Okay. Hello all. So I tried setting up a thing yesterday. I tried setting up a vertical stream on YouTube, but apparently that's more complicated than I thought it would be. So I was just trying to see if I could get that kick-started. We'll see. Okay. So when you're on your phone and if you're scrolling through shorts on YouTube, you'll come across live streams. I've just watched this streamer who was stuck at like 6,700 subscribers jump 500 subscribers on YouTube in a matter of days. Um, I mean, not stuck, but slowly. So just the I was experimenting as always with what works and what doesn't, etc. So yeah. Um, but it I've installed the plugin, but if I go to my channel, I only see one stream. I should see two. Um, yeah. Hello, Tigley. How you doing? Yeah. I'll be honest, today felt like a day where I could happily just hang out in maybe stream and kind of just tinker with stuff. um, However, I do want to make progress and I do want to stay consistent. So, full stream today. No meetings, no nothing like that. So we're gonna proceed with getting this working. Um, so I left it yesterday with the communication stuff. I wired that up yesterday evening, got that building. So basically now we have the subscriptions. We can post to the subscriptions endpoint over here. And yeah, I wired up the other thing. What's it called? Um, Also tired. Work has been a bee this week. Just glad it's Friday and hoping it goes smooth. Yes, yes. I've got one meeting today. I'm hoping I can be productive enough to keep myself busy and have the day go fast. But yeah, we shall see. We shall see. Yeah. So, coffee. Hey, Fudge Novel. How are you doing? Good day. Um, yeah. So it goes. I assume most of you are also kind of following along with maybe's AI adventures. And that's 4 hours. Oh, I wish that. Um, do you have short Fridays? Is that a normal thing or yeah? I gotta remember, I've got to look at the prompter not there. It's so easy to look at the chat on this window because the summer Fridays. Okay, that's a thing. Um yeah, it's so easy to look over here because it's obviously on my eye level. The prompter's up there so that I can kind of interact more, but yeah. I failed to land this joke in maybe channel, so I'll try here. Okay. So yeah, we got the thing working. That's the stacks. You don't need that. What's new in WebStorm? TypeScript Go language server experiment. Oh, that's an interesting one. That will make TypeScript faster. Let's have a look here. So, what I'm trying to do right this second, huh? Really funny. Do I need to go to maybe's channel to see? I read today that GPT-5 will see a 25% increment over the version number. uh, I got it. That's funny. Yep. GPT-5 will represent a nearly 25% increase in version number over GPT-4. Okay, so brain work. Come on, kickstart. No, not gonna function. Basically, what I need to do. Oh, I don't remember what I was doing now. I literally fell asleep at my desk last night doing this. I was that tired. I was sat here and yeah, and then I woke up at 1 a.m. Hi, Grimborn. How you doing? Been a while. I am working on my project management application, which I will go over here. Liquid Sky. So right now I am working on notifying a user when things change in this, right? So the idea being that you can subscribe to this and say, hey, I care when the status of this changes, or I care when the status changes to this, or I care about when the status changes from that. And have the user be, right now, email notified of that event occurring. So I have been trying to line this up for a few weeks now. I got the communications part in here yesterday. So the communications piece needs yeah. So the communications piece needs to have to subscribe for the notification. It needs to create the notification subscription, and then it also needs to essentially register that subscription in the communication preferences as well, to say, okay, when this thing occurs, here's what's going to happen, right? So ultimately we'll pass more parameters to this, in that it'll be I want to get an email, I want to get a text message, I want to get an email weekly or whatever, be able to configure how I get told about that thing. So this is going to return a subscription identifier. This is then going to use that subscription identifier to register my communication preferences, so that when a change occurs, it goes to notifications. Notifications says, "Yep, we need to tell them something," and goes to communications. And communications owns the how it tells me. The notifications tells me, gives me that it needs to tell me that. So in the overall system, that's, we have. The client needs to register the subscription with notifications. Good morning, Apex. And then also, when it gets that subscription back, it's going to register that with communications, so that we can align those two things. So when X happens, Y happens. What I'm doing right now is looking for the code that needs to do the thing on this side, to do that registration. And I am brain foggy really hard. Not helping me. Goes well. As always, if you have questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to join in. You do not have to just, if you're thinking, oh, that's terrible, I wouldn't do it that way. I actually have a redeem for that one. But that's always welcome. Uh, hey, Smoking Squiggly, how you doing? I'll come back. You're on. Hello. How you doing? I, I didn't even ping in my Discord that I was going live yet. I was like, and everyone's here, so that's awesome. Probably should do that though. That's a normal thing, right? I'm learning about temporal today. Boring online training stuff. Oh, fun. Fun, fun, fun. Okay. Um, I'll have to see if I can figure out how to get the YouTube vertical stream working again another day. Okay, I'm sorry. I've got a lot of windows open. I'm trying to get myself back on track for where I was. So, what I need to do now is I need to modify the service planning. Okay, so this is in the wrong place right now. So notifications. Ultimately, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the notification subscription dialog as its own component because it shouldn't be specific to planning. What's specific to planning is the parameters available for me to subscribe to. So when I start up the subscription panel, I should be able to say, hey, and I want to be able to subscribe to these elements, right? So that individually they can be controlled, but then they are passed up as part of the parameters of the subscription. So like the status parameter, right now I include it this way, right? But ultimately there's probably a way of specifying I want a notification subscription dialog and I want to include these components, right? Rather than having all this hard-coded. So yeah, I think I can use I can set it up so that this when I add it in the page, I add the parameters. But that's for another day, right? That's for a future challenge. That's for less tired me to tackle. I am trying to stay a little bit more energetic, but today just feels like a very tired day. So basically, right now, here we go. So this is the save planning item subscription, right? And what this does is it posts to the API subscriptions planning item. This URL probably needs some reflection, some review, because basically where that goes, that's the concept of there are subscriptions to things, but it's really notifications. So I'm not sure whether I should change that. So if we go to API subscriptions, you see that goes to the notifications cluster, and that posts inside of that. And this planning item here is the object type I'm subscribing to. So now I need to do this save subscription to communications because this is the second part, right? I need to say, okay, well now I have this subscription identifier that needs to be handled. So what I was trying to do yesterday when I what I was trying to do yesterday when I fell asleep is understand how to chain this together properly. So using our favorite tooling, using a merge map or using a switch map. A switch map is recommended. So the suggestion there is to type that to switch map. I thought it's deprecated. We'll find out in a second. Response goes to service dot save subscription to communications, and then response dot identifier. There you go. Okay, that was. So when we get this back, go and take that identifier that we returned and now call there. So we should be able to run this. Hey Taylor, outside? Where's Loki? Okay, you go back to sleep. I'm sorry. We're outside. Ooh, big sigh apparently. Okay, so we go now to Chrome. Just relieved it's Friday. Yeah. Local, it's been a few weeks since I did this. There you go. Okay. You could just keep clicking the window and yeah. There you go. Okay, so the way this is going to look right now is now we have this little bell icon, right? And the bell icon indicates that there is a subscription against it, but we're not loading that subscription right this second. So what we need to do is we need to be able to click this and say, I want to subscribe to the status, and I want to say, you know, any status change for this one, right? So now let's see if things work. What we should see, cannot create a DB set for subscription because this type is not included in the model for the context. So this is the downside to that, by the way, because what this has just done is it's created a notification, but not created a subscription. So now I've got 50% of the thing. So now if something changes on this object, it will track it, but I won't see that notification subscription at all. I'm not going to panic about that right this second, because I think that's something that can be corrected later. I think that's the sort of thing where, you know, that's the sort of thing where you can become overly cautious and like, oh, well, what if this doesn't happen? And what if this doesn't happen? You just got to figure out what the right plan is there. So ultimately, my plan there would be I'd produce the fact that the notification was generated and register that in the view. And present the user with this, the fact that they've got a notification, but they don't have any subscription preferences. So now they can define that. So I'll handle that as a feature rather than an actual failure case, because then it allows them to correct themselves without jumping through hoops and writing lies through the code to say, oh, well, you know, what if this doesn't happen? Well, it shouldn't do. It is an exception. It should be handled. So I'm going to do it that way. So in that case, what I need to do is I need to go to Apologized. It's the one time where listening to music and stuff would probably do me better. But okay, so we're going to shut down communications. I'm going to shut that service down. And what I need to do here is storage configuration. I didn't register that model in the context. So, and this is a new thing I've learned. My traditional way of doing this would be to register all the DB sets in here. That's okay. However, if you create a configuration for that thing, so if we call this, what do I call the object? Domain entity subscription. If I create this as subscription configuration and declare this as identity type configuration of subscription, again, ultimately, this is going to be preferences. This is really, hey, I want an email weekly, I want an SMS. And in the end, we will provide the ability to do multiple things. So you could get a push notification immediately and a weekly summary email, etc. Right? So that's the goal. And in here now, builder.to collection subscriptions. Right. And I think that's all I really need. I'm not using any weird mapping. I'm not using any properties. This is just object converters. So it will actually serialize the object type out and pull it back so we get the right data. And there we go. So now we should be able to start that up again. And if we subscribe to something now, let's see if the same one will fail or the same one will work. Save that. Ah, requires a primary key to be defined. Did I not do it? Technically, that subscription identifier is the primary key. It'd be the fastest thing to make it that. So let's stop it running. So all I'm doing, by the way, is I'm going to the Spy dashboard and stopping it running here. So I don't have to restart the entire stack. So that's all I'm doing on the Spy dashboard there. Let's see if we can do this. Builder as key. K goes to k.subscription identifier. So we might have to do a little bit more there. Yeah. So let's do this again. BSON class map of subscription. And then let's do subscription identifier. I think that's how we defined it in that way. Let's change that here. This will be the subscription map. Yeah, let's go with that. That works better than anything else, right? So let's start that back up and try once more. All right. And let's go with this one. Status, save. Oh, come on. We're not winning this one, are we? It requires a primary key to be defined. I did a mapped an ID member. That's the point. I don't need to. Do I need to explicitly state that, being that it's... Oh, you know what? I probably do need to. I probably do need to, because in the other one I have an ID property, which Entity Framework will by default use as a primary key. However, in this one it probably doesn't. So builder.hasKey k goes to k.subscription identifier. Again, the subscription identifier is unique, right? Because it should only be one notification subscription identifier. The user and the tenant are additional information to that, and ultimately we will store on here parameters of that subscription, so that, like, the settings, you know, how, whether they're emailing, summarizing, whatever we're doing. And what's going to happen is when the notification, when we get told to do the notification, we're going to look that up and say, hey, what preferences do we have, and start the relevant saga for that notification. So we're going to publish the event that triggers the saga. So we'll publish a, you know, scheduled domain event, or we'll publish a immediate domain event to tell it to react. That's my thoughts so far. I think that might require some more definition, but we'll go with it. So let's do that. Let's start that up. Save status. Come on, you can work. The entity type subscription primary key property must be mapped to element underscore ID. Does the order matter here? Does the order matter? Let's learn. Auto map. Subscription identifier. So these pieces are used by the consumer. As changes come in, they map it out so we know what was changed. The reason being, when we assemble this information, rather than, you know, send snippets of text around or whatever, it will compile all this information and say, okay, here we go, here's what changed. You know, the user that changed it, etc. So if the status changes 5 times and you get a daily summary email, you're going to get an email that says, okay, it was changed from this status by this person, this status by this person, this, right? So the more you subscribe to, the more busy that's going to become. But it's going to show you the individual changes that occurred over that period. Is the design so far. Again, we have the chance to refine that, right? So let's start that up again. And try again. Status, save. Okay, the entity. I don't want to create an ID property just for the sake of it. If I can tell it by the way, this is your right. I don't want to create an ID property just to tell it, oh, by the way, that's subscription identifier, because then it makes it even messier from this code perspective. I don't know why this is not doing. Oh, hold on. Well, no, I'm applying the assemblies. I'm applying these as part of auto load. So this is occurring, but this is not recognizing that. So let's go over here. Let's see if Claude can help. I'm not going to bring it over because it's just back and forth. I am using for MongoDB EF core provider to specify a non other than ID as the ID number. So let's give it this. If it comes with anything interesting, I will grab it across, but now what I think this is going to tell me, based upon experience so far, is it's going to tell me to put a GUID ID on the on the class. So what I'm trying to say is, hey, I don't want to create an ID property because subscription identifier is, I suppose it's called, I'm on a subscription. It did exactly what I said it would do, by the way. It basically told me to create an ID member. So what I've done, by the way, is I've actually told it to give me an accuracy score on how confident it thinks the data is. I haven't seen it actually give me anything less than 9 out of 10 so far, but I've said, okay, tell me, based upon where you get the information from, like what is your, like how old is this information, etc. So I've, however, your if core key is still your domain identifier. Map the ID, so they recommend creating a private GUID ID just to track it internally, right? What it's worth, accuracy score could be helpful as good, bad, etc. versus numerical. Yeah, I have seen it give me like 6 out of 10 once or twice, where it's like this information is actually pretty old and based on .NET 6 versus .NET 9. So it has told me why it's old. So I've given it a some level of estimation there. Mainly it's coming up with 9 out of 10, but it has come up with like 6 or whatever. But continue to refine that, right? So what I was doing is I was talking. I was like, hold on, I'm on a subscription. This is representing a subscription. This is the subscription identifier. Now, I still want to do, at the very least, I want to do that, right? Because I'm representing the subscription here. What Claude is giving me is this, right? Where it's creating a private property just for the domain. And then in here, and I'm not totally against this. It goes to ID. That's why that's a string, because it's a private variable. But no, You're making code up again, Claude. You're making it up. Dang it. Does map property even exist? Map ID property. There we go. Why do I need subscription ID there? Ensure map the private ID property to Mongo, map property, set element name, subscription ID. Ensure subscription identifier gets the same value. I think that's just hallucinating there. What is that got to do with anything? That's got no... Set element name identifier. There's no subscription ID. Let's just try that. Let's see what happens. Oh, pants. I didn't stop and start. I was doing all that without doing that. Status. Save. Oh. The entity type subscription primary key property identifier must be mapped to element ID. That. Let's try that. Okay, so status, save that. I need to create a gap in here so that I don't click the wrong thing. So we had it complain about the primary key, but it knew that identifier was set as the primary key, but it must be mapped to element underscore ID. My thought there was that it'd kind of give it a naming convention of entity type ID. If we do that, what happens there? Like I'm happy to learn here. This is useful. So the reason I'm using Mongo, by the way, in this case, is the data is all sorts of different shapes, and I don't want to have to worry about SQL schema. So Mongo is the perfect backing store for this data. It will also allow me to store. I can potentially prepare the snippets for the template in real time, and jam them into Mongo as text. I think that is a possibility. I don't know if I will do it that way. That might be a bit too hacky for me. Oh, come on. Dr. Cox, hello. How you doing? Happy Friday. No, that's the one. So you give me a sub on Snow Channel. I completely missed that. Thank you very much. No worries. Very welcome. It's Friday. Oh, it's Friday. Hi, Connie. How you doing? How is your Friday going? Being that yours is almost half over. Mine's not even beginning really. Yeah. We used the company I work for used to have basically on months that didn't have a day, didn't have a public holiday, they'd give you a Friday off. They took that away, and I didn't realize how much that actually helped because you got one day off every month. Company breakfast was a bit stressed, driving 45 minutes with dog eating 3 hours on company time and coming back, but I shall not complain for free food. Huh. Yeah. I need one of them 4-day work week jobs. I don't mind working. I wouldn't mind working an extra hour a day. 4 days a week to be able to have a full day off. Yeah. I think it's mentally, I think it's pretty good. So, yeah. But anyway. I really don't want to create an idea here, but you know what? In the interest of trying to move this process along, I'm not going to fight what I can't change right this second. So the reason I wonder if that will work. I wonder if I can do it that way where I don't need that at all. And has key, can I do ID? I think that might actually function the way, not exactly ideal, but it works. I need one of those 0 days a week work weeks. Yeah, but unless you win the lottery or make it big with some, amazing piece of software, pretty hard to do, right? Or retire. It's an odd term to use, Canning. We are being paid. And we do have the choice of not working. We should generally work only 4 days a week. Would help mentally. Yes, it would. Though. I'm going to put that down to an English translation. we are privileged enough to be paid for what we work for, whether we consider it the job we're in. Though we could choose different roles. I used to work 5-4-9 that essentially allowed me to take every other Friday off, as well as the 4-10s, which I could do. Good morning, online. Yeah. Yes. No, I get it. But yeah, the yes. we're not going to into a debate on that word there, but yes, it's not easy. Things cost more. You've got to work. You've got to like. But yeah, I think coming back to the point, a 4-day work week, I think would generate more productivity, especially from our professions, because we're not unhappy to work a longer day if we're being productive, right? My alarm went off, just reminding me to refill my coffee, and it's recycle rubbish day, so I'll be away longer than usual. No worries. Well, we gotta be careful with that word. It's not. There's a lot of people have suffered a lot worse. That's the point. So anyway, let's move on from that. Now I work 40 hours a week for my client. With previous client, I worked 32 hours a week, so I had Fridays to tinker. That was nice, but the extra income was good too. Yeah, like I'm a 40-hour work week, right? 10 hours a day, 4 days a week. I wouldn't really notice it. I mean, I'd start at like 8 and finish at 6. Um, um, I'm constantly arguing that we should introduce an open source Friday, like we use a bunch of open source projects, and in my opinion, it would be win-win for the company and the devs. I'd rather 6-hour days, 5 6-hour days. Nah, I'd like the entire Friday off. It's a good break. So you have 3 full days. Because essentially, well, it's hypothetical anyway, so you can work whatever hours you want to work. Dr. Cox, I don't know about. So you mean like introducing the concept of the developers and stuff being able to go off and tinker with projects on a Friday, so that it's uh, not work, but it's still productive and gives them chances. Um, so Google introduced the 20% thing, right? And the idea was that you could go off and do your own thing. You just introduce it and you use it as lunch and learns. Its ability to move technology forward. Yeah, yeah. I tried a similar thing at a previous company. Actually, 2 previous companies. And what I found is people wanted to just get their heads down and do the work anyway. And if there were deadlines and stuff, they felt compelled to do the work on the deadlines rather than taking the time, even though they were actively pushed to just take the time, they wouldn't do it. They'd go off and do the actual work. So I gave up. I prefer sipping margaritas in a beach chair, but yeah, mortgage and stuff. Yeah, yeah. I think we all have the preferences, right? Um, uh, that's a kind of deal like that. You can take some hours per week for other things, but no one exactly. People feel compelled to work if they're in a work environment. That's what I'm saying. Like, give me 10 hours a day. I'll work 8, well 6. Um, that's the 10 hours, right? Yeah, 10 hours. Um, and it's and take a Friday. Um, we hit a bunch of pain points in the open source projects we use. We could chip in and be more active in those projects. This would bring the open source project further and we fix the pain points that we have. Okay, full out open source contribution. But then you're just working for someone else. Um, and also, that's, yeah, open source projects are interesting. If you start taking actual work time to contribute back to them, um, solving the problems you have. Yeah. prefer Superman. It's a beach chair, not at the beach. But yeah, did I restart this? Am I just checked out here? Status, save. Oh, did we actually do something? Did we actually make sure to? Yeah, we did. Okay, so we should be able to go over here. Open source contribs are great, but you can take too much time and it'd be a bit frustrating if your goals don't match them. That's one of my concerns with open source. It's why this is 100% not open sourced as a project, is because because it's big enough that people could potentially try to make something with it. And I don't want to open that up. Well, that's not one of one of the reasons, not the reason. But it has worried me about a few things. If people actually do want to engage with stuff, that's the major problem. People want stuff, but they don't necessarily. And I'm the same, right? I'm just as guilty. I've tried to contribute back twice to things and been shot down. So, and not opinionated stuff like, hey, this isn't working this way. And I've tried to engage to try and improve the process and been told I was wrong like, by the maintainer. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So varying experience, right? A third collection should appear here. If I did this right. If I did it wrong and I'm connected to the wrong database, then I'm messed up. But there we go. Notification subscriptions. There's our identifier, our tenant identifier, and our user identifier. So there we go. And that will match up to our LS SQL Server notifications table here. We should have 4D100 as our subscription parameter. No, as our entity subscriptions. 4D100. There's our subscription, and there's our parameters. Our settings over here. So now we have the two pieces we need. We mostly hit bugs on Mudblazer, for example. In the past, we had to host a manual fork of it to fix it. Oh no, that's never a good idea. That's never a good idea. Yeah. I don't know. In those sorts of things, I think if an organization is hiring people, then paying for that software and paying for support of that software is a better choice at that major level. Like I'm using Mediator and other libraries here. They're all open source stuff, right? If the application stops working because of them, the application's screwed, but the APIs are pretty simple to recreate and build out. I'm happy to do that. But if I was building the entire UI stuff off it, then I'd probably pay. Yeah. What's following the contrib guidelines for each project, and yet this would also take up time to do. Yeah, but there's certain things I think are awesome to use open source, but other things, if you are a business, it becomes very challenging. So, anyway. Oh, 100% smoking, yeah. It's why libraries like Mediator and like Fluent Assertions and Mass Transit, etc., going paid for is kind of a big thing, because it now switches what was, hey, look, we've got the cool software, to you've got a licensing requirement now, and you can't do anything about it, right? Other than stick on the old version, which has its own set of risks, right? So, 8,000 dependencies. Yeah. Not sure I'm not far off that with this so far. Okay, so We now have, I can stop running this right a second. We now have a piece over here that says, I care about this, and a piece over here that says, by the way, you're going to care about this. We now get to the point of trying to figure out the subscriptions, the actual sagas, finally. We're not a very complex app, but transitive dependencies adds up, yes. If you build a commercial product, it can still be worthwhile to bring in paid libraries like Mediator. Yes, it can save time. Like, it does provide quite a lot of functionality if you're using that, but there is the question of, okay, well, they've gone paid now, but you started off as a, hey, look, we're being really productive, we're doing all this, and now you have to go to your management and say, oh, by the way, you're not getting anything for free anymore. So I think many people Mediator pricing is a bit steep. If you're a large org and can buy the enterprise license, it's not so bad. Yeah, no, and it is a little steep. My actual concern is it ends up with more of the like I'm trying to think about how to say this because it sounds stupid if I get it sounds very stupid if I get it right. I'm naive. I've told the story many times. I didn't know Mediator existed. I wrote my own for my previous employer. It's still there almost 10 years later. It's still doing what it should be doing. And it's actually, its APIs weren't a million miles away from what Mediator does. But it also requires its own maintenance. It also requires its own focus when there's issues. And the risk you run is blurring the pattern, right? Blurring the design so that you end up how do I put it? You end up molding the tool to your own vision. And it doesn't really represent what it was originally, because it's now hacked to pieces to solve the problems that you've had, even though they weren't problems had you follow the library. So the benefit of using a third-party library is sometimes that you are kind of forced down the path of its design. And again, I know we've discussed that before. And by following its design, you're actually following a set of practices someone spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to represent, which means you are consistent, which means that if other developers come into the organization, you have shared understanding. If you build your own and start blurring it, and I've been in this situation many times, people assume something's going to work one way and it doesn't. And there's going to be a bunch of these all over the place because people are like, I'm not paying for Mediator. That being said, I'm using an open source version, right? If the maintainer of this library, which they just updated to version 3 with some performance improvements, if they go off and add a charge for this, what do I do? As it is, I've got mass transit, and I have to consider what mass transit looks like as I start to build out the next set of features. My leaning into the service bus aspect is going to be heavier. Do I just suck it up and build my own layer around Kafka so I don't have to do that? Kafka's in the Apache group, so it's kind of a little bit more protected from that paid thing, and its services around it. That other thing. But I don't know. It's tough. Okay, so we've got communications now registering the fact that it understands what a subscription is. So there's two sides to this, right? There's a consumer and receivers. These are both consumers. Receivers is Kafka, consumers is service bus. So when we send the notification, it's going to come into here. That's the intent. So we're going to register, hey, we care about the notification piece, and we're going to now determine, do we have this subscription? If we do, awesome, we can go off and do this thing. As I'm talking about this, I'm realizing that there's a bit of a flaw in my plan. Maybe there's not. I need to think through some workflow for a second. So this piece here specifically, I'm using the canvas stuff. I wanted to tinker with canvas a little bit more rather than Excalibur, which I normally use. When a change occurs, so let's say this I go and change the status of this to ready for planning, right? That goes into planning. I edit that. It publishes out, hey, by the way, this is what the planning item now looks like. Changes picks that up and says, what did it look sorry, what did it look like previously? Let's calculate what changed. Oh, the status changed. Okay, so we'll publish another entity that is, hey, this changed. And now the transform pipeline picks that up. The notifications side picks it up and says, oh, a change occurred. Let me check to see if anyone cares about this change. So it goes and looks at the change. It says, oh, status. Okay, on this entity, this planning item. Is there anyone subscribed to this entity? Yes, there is. Okay, does anyone care about this particular change? Yes, there are. Okay, let's tell them it changed. So it publishes a notification, or it sends a send notification command to the service bus. This is a command, not an event, right? It's a, you need to do something. In this instance, I don't actually need the extra information. However, I don't have the information here because all I'm doing is say send it, right? So even though I've used that change that I could use again, I don't want to make the notification system responsible for saying, oh, and here's the data you need to deal with, because it doesn't have full context. Transform, as it's referred to here, which is the extra part of changes, gets that change and says, oh, do I need to do anything to enrich this? No. Okay, well, let's publish this. Stony on YouTube. Just dawned on me, it's got the vertical stream on YouTube, hasn't it? Oh, you are kidding me. Oh, what have you done, YouTube? The benefit is someone else has subscribed. Is that what the laughing was for, Stony? I need to remember to check the preview, don't I? Ugh. Oh well, this is a bit of a different one. I couldn't figure out how to get two streams to run, and it should be going to YouTube as well, so I don't know why that's the case. Oh well, I'm an hour and 10 minutes into the stream. There's nothing I'm doing about it now, is there? Okay, so that change comes over as detail, and now this notification basically waiting for that change to appear over here, right? So it needs confirmation that it's got the details of the change before it can produce a notification. So this is where we get into the sagas. This will have the change identifier in it. Yes. This will have the change identifier in it. Yes. So there'll be a coordinating identifier between the two. Outrageous, I'll DM you. Oh, what's the matter? Am I going to end up deleting a stream here? I'm going to refocus until that's handled. Okay. So I am appearing in those streams. That's interesting. Anyway, so what I need to do now is basically create a saga that will allow me to coordinate those two things. So when I see the notification appear, I need to start the saga. If I see a change appear, this is where I'm a little stuck. Actually, we're at the point where we need to design, right? The code design here matters a lot from the behavior standpoint, but I think I need to go through this the first time, and this is going to be a little bit of a struggle. So basically, what I need to do is I need to go into here. This is where the Sagas library is going to become a little bit challenging in terms of the structure and the naming is going to make no sense to me. I think this might actually become. This is Sagas, but this also introduces the service. But I don't want the service in here. It might be that the services get broken out separately. Let's implement it in the first place and find out where it hurts the most. That's going to be the question. So, mediator.sagas. Actually, no. Let's do the right parts first. We need to capture the notification. This is, hey, and we're being told to notify something. So we need to create a consumer, and that consumer is going to be of that type, right? And then when we add service bus in here, we actually set the consumers up, right? So we can have message retries and all sorts of other things. So if we have a So far in Liquid Sky, there has been a lot of crud. Hey Melith, how you doing? I'm good. I'm good. I'm about to embark on pretty much one of the most complicated coordination pieces I've done so far in this project. So I know that I'm gonna make a mess. And this is where the lessons start, right? This is where the hard parts begin. So up until now, when I say crud, obviously, I mean a lot of Liquid Sky so far is no more than just a, create an object, update the object, read the object, delete the object, etc. There's nothing really complicated in terms of logic in the domain at any level. There's little quirks of behavior, but there is not a lot going on other than a more an overly complicated CRUD system, saying it as it is, right? There's features and stuff that are kind of useful, but overall it is nothing more than a complicated CRUD system. However, we're starting to move towards the behavioral aspects of the application, which means that it's going to get a little bit more difficult. So I need to kind of think about these steps here. So, when I laid this out, if we go to the tasks, wait, are you not logged in? You're not logged in, are you? There you go. Record notifications. So introduce API for communications, create the database, create endpoint for communication preferences, capture the notification subscription. Okay, so that one's actually done. Right, that initial version is done. It's this piece that's the hard part, right? So create a consumer for the command, build the handler. If we have no recorded change detail for this change, then start a Saga to wait for the actual change. If we have change details, send the email notification. I'm going to use the mediator notifications piece quite heavily here. We did this piece. We need to tackle these pieces. So I need to think through this a little bit more detailed than this. This is where the to use the term, the rubber meets the road. I need to consume that notification. When that notification occurs, I need to actually just save that notification as a thing. And my intent here is I won't start the Saga. I will publish a domain event that says, by the way, a notification was received. On receiving that, the Saga will be started because we'll register the Saga for beginning of notification received, is my intent so far. What I'm trying to validate, figure out how to validate mentally, I can't even draw a picture for this piece, is it the right sequence that I'm following here? Is it the right... I don't mind explicitly starting the Saga. But is that even possible? So in my demonstration so far, no, this one, right? Basically, I've said, hey, handle this, publish this notification, handle this event in the Saga handle that I've created, publish this notification essentially. But what I'm questioning is, am I creating events for the sake of fitting within the Saga framework? Or am I... Yeah, am I creating events just to fit in the framework of the Saga thing, or am I actually just missing a pattern somewhere in here? Because you're sending events because at creation time you don't have time to do anything complicated, right? I'm sending events because I might not have all the information I need at the point I start that, right? So I'm told, hey, a change occurred, you need to tell the user about it, right? How they're told is contained within the communications piece. I might not have the detail for that change yet because that change detail is being calculated. Rambling Geek, good afternoon. How are you doing? So what I'm trying to do is may have had a nap. Nice. What I'm trying to do is kind of get all these little things in my head, all to kind of stack up properly. So yeah, I'm publishing events. Let me bring up the diagram because it might help me. It might help me. I send I calculate the change, and again, all asynchronously, right? So I calculate the change, I publish out the fact that something changed so that I can react to that from whatever system I need to react to that from. Notifications is one that says, oh, do you care about this object? Yes, you do. Okay, let's send a notification. So send a notification. It is not responsible for figuring out what it's sending, just that it should send. It's kind of a trigger as such. To the rest of the system. But that sends a command to say send them a notification, and that goes into communications. That's what I'm about to wire up. That notification, what I'm first stuck on is, do I need to store that notification, or am I storing that notification for the sake of, triggering an event that will then allow an event internally to this domain, to this context. This is the domain. Internally to this context, just because it fits my pattern. The detail for that change, and in this instance, it's not going to be that disconnected, but the detail for this change is not going to arrive at the same time as this notification. So whichever one arrives first, I still need to record, and I am recording that change detail. Right, so those record change events, that's happening. So as the change comes in, that's happening. Now, I need to. So let me do this. This needs to be a little bit more complicated in terms of its behavior. Essentially, what I need to do is say, when this is saved, publish a domain event, and then if there's something listening to it, yeah, I think you want to send events and then react to events, but not have direct linkage between the two. Why should locally generated events have special status? They don't have special status. What I'm trying to do is figure out, am I using the events to do something that I should be able to do directly without actually caring about the events? It's this side I'm not particularly worried about, because essentially what I need to do is, when I save this, I need to publish a domain event that says, a change activity occurred, so that the rest of the communications piece can pick that up. That would be listened to by the Saga. Let me tell you what, let me do it this way. Let me do manage NuGet packages, Sagas, add that. And add that. Subscription configuration. Come on. There's no harm here. I'm on a branch. Come on. Come on. Finish syncing the projects. There we go. Kidding me. Don't do it again. There we go. Add directory notifications. If we do a how would I name this? Like, let's just call sample saga for right a second. And I'm going to create a public class. Well, let me get away this. Public class. And this is going to be GUID subscription identifier, GUID user identifier, GUID tenant identifier, whatever. And this is going to be a saga of state. Oh, I said that has to be a class. Oh well. We'll fix that later. I didn't realize that was a thing. Really got to stop thinking about other stuff as I'm typing. That's not helping me. Okay. I'm thinking like 5 steps ahead of where I am. So now this saga will inherit from I handle notification received, right? And the concept there is this will pick up when that domain event fires, and I handle let's say we do change activity received, right? So these two things will be dealt with in here. Let's create those events just so we can now they're labeled as domain events basically because I was mimicking some other clean architecture styles to try and align the way I'm representing stuff to other, well-recognized architectures in .NET, so that when we're doing the stream, I have more to point to because people will have seen it, right? They're subdomain events, if I'm being clear. Domain events to me would be using servicebus for things that happen across everything that other things need to react to across the entire domain. This is really an internal event, which is why I'm using mediator for this and not servicebus, because mediator is my local kind of notifications piece. But it does allow me to disconnect the behavior internally. So if we do notification received, and this is an I notification, right? This is a mediator notification. Oh no, tell me we have a discrepancy there. I orchestrated. Yeah, see, I think I need an abstractions library because I don't need the full library added in here. That's a problem. We'll see. right? So this is going to be public GUID subscription identifier, public GUID. Yeah, this is... Sometimes you got to write code to figure out where you're wrong. However it's done, there's a flaw there. I'm just kind of thinking through, right? So these have to be orchestrated because they have to have an identifier that will uniquely join them, right? So I could have many instances of the Saga. It needs an orchestration identifier to collate any events of the same object together. So you need an orchestration identifier. Let's create change activity received. And this is again an I orchestrated notification. Implement that, and then this is going to be public GUID. What I do there, subscription identifier. That's the problem. That's the problem. Sorry for that was not intentional. I'm thinking. This is one of those situations, by the way, that AI really can't help me because I don't have, I'm trying to build my own mental context of what it is I'm trying to ask. And I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was like, this coordination piece is not the easy piece, especially when I'm tired. But I don't even know what I'm asking of AI. The design is there. It's on the cusp of being achievable. I just need to figure out how to do it. So let me get this in. Subscription identifier. This is wrong, but it will allow me to get it to compile and demonstrate a little bit more. So now this is going to receive these. The intent being that I create the Saga, and then this might be I am started by the way, right? So if the notification is received, it will kickstart this Saga. That's the intent. And what it will do is, let's see if it's actually done any of that. Yeah, oh, it has. That's pretty impressive. So it's created a... Oh, that's a problem. That's a real problem. That's not going to compile. Ouch. We'll see. So what it's done is it's created a started by Saga. So this one will trigger and then create the Saga, whereas the other one will not create the Saga. So if it receives that event, even if it's for the right orchestration ID, before the Saga has been initialized, nothing will happen. The point there would be that basically I could receive these things. Once I receive the notification from here, I just create the register the details of the notification and produce that event. Now the Saga will start, and if this change has been received, essentially what I need to do is in here check to see if I've got it already, right? Do I have the change? If I do, then I just finish the Saga. And if I don't, then this event will come later. So I can mark the Saga as is completed, right? I could do is completed, is complete equals true. And yeah, there's a way of doing that. And what that will do is when it's complete in the base handler, in my Saga, that's trigger completed. No, there's a base Saga notification handler base. This will retry. This is the cast stuff that we were talking about the other week. This will retry if it can't save it, so it's saving the right version back. But then if the Saga is marked as complete after handling the notification, we might do a publish, which in this case would be publish the notification itself. And then it will delete the saga and it's gone. Right, that's the idea. If this was a long running saga, we'd put triggers on there, so we would have a timing on the saga as well, and that's all configurable. But I think what's happened right this second is I don't think that's actually built properly. Let's see if this builds. I don't think it's going to work. Yep, that was my worry. So these, for some reason, have not been pulled in. Come on. That's most frustrating. So I get that this might not be easy to understand, because a lot of the context lies still in my head of how I've designed it, how I've written it, etc. That's really frustrating because that means that the Saga library is not running the way I think it should run. So I'm going to have to build a different sample. But basically, the reason I'm stuck is because this notification received isn't as simple. If that notification is a and hello, Dukasoft. I'm sorry. I looked at your name and I apologize. Hello. I hope you are well today. Oh man. Yeah. This is not the time when I need to be foggy and tired. I've got to fit too many parts in my head. Time for me to head out. Till next time, Dr. Cox, thank you very much for coming and hanging out. Appreciate it. Have a great Friday and a wonderful weekend. Let's race. I wish. Yeah, I don't think I would hold my job very long if I turned around right now and just started the PlayStation. If you haven't followed Dukesoft, when Dukesoft streams, it's not frequently yet, but when Dukesoft streams drone footage with music, and it's a nice chat experience, and I highly recommend looking out for one of those because they are a treat. So again, what I'm trying to avoid is basically using events to send commands. I don't want to kind of push the system into some weird, I'm using events to trigger what I need. I think that would be the wrong design to start this off with. I think it would be the wrong pattern to apply. So I'm just trying to figure that. Because you don't want to be using events to essentially send commands. You want to use events as a, hey, by the way, you can react to this. And that's the purpose of, that's kind of what I was trying to design with the Sagas, is I want to be able to react to events occurring without actually having direct code handling, well, if this happens, then do this, if this, I don't want to write that sort of code. I want the system to be reactive. I want the system to be event driven. However, right. And again, I can carry the state with this. This will get persisted so that I can retrieve it when the saga comes back. The state will be populated. that is all handled. And I feel like this is one of those situations where I'm just missing an element of the design, apart from the fact that it doesn't build, which is most disappointing, being that all my tests pass. So I'm clearly missing something in there. I think I might know what that would be. So the tests, sample notifications, notification orchestra. I wonder if I change that. Liquid sky. I wonder if I change them to be. No. Yeah, I think I've created a scenario where it's fine locally, but not. So if you're looking here, I've got the notifications within the same test library. I think the generator code is dealing with this slightly differently. But they are in a namespace internally. So that is frustrating. Because it's included. Yep. Oh, hold on. Are they in the same namespace? Sample notifications. Hasn't included that namespace. So where are you pulling sample notifications from? I have to drop off early for work today. Thanks for the stream. No worries, Apex. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out. I'll look for your stream over the weekend. If you are not aware, Apex is building his game. It's starting to take some real good shape recently, and he is using a lot of AI to kind of help, and is demonstrating it very effectively. You know, when to use it, when not to use it, you know. When the oh man. Okay. Well, multiple frustrations here. This is sustainable AI. Yeah, there you go. Have a good one, Apex. I'll catch you later. This is not what I wanted to be happening right this second. So two problems. Firstly, I need to understand why it's not pulling the right namespace that they're using. See, it's pulling communications application notifications as a namespace, but it should be pulling this one in. Whereas over here, it's doing the exact same thing because you can see the gap, because the gap is in the template, right? That's why I know it's doing that. And I know why it's doing it. Now I'm thinking about it, I know exactly why it's doing it. He says, as he goes to generate as resources, see here, for using in usings. But when I generate the actual code, right. Using handle a namespace. I need to get the notifications as well. Handlers. I'm missing that piece. So I do have I am lacking, but I don't know why that's still building. This shouldn't be building. The test shouldn't pass. That should have failed sooner. So a few problems. Obviously, the namespace is the first thing I need to go fix. I need to go figure out that so I get the right pieces. Second problem, I need to understand how I'm going to do this. So let's come back around on that. The idea would be that the saga is there, and then it is created by this. So basically, the code for the sagas will create the handlers as this is, and when that notification is published. So when I publish a domain event, when I publish this domain event, so let's say I go into my application record change event, ultimately I publish Sally has a throw inside TP test. Good morning, Napalm. So here, whether I do it as a reaction to saving this as make this what's it called? Have its own domain events, or I publish it directly here as an event, right? So I publish, publish change activity received. That works fine because then I can react to that in the saga, right? The idea would be that this says, oh, change activity has been received, therefore I must have come out of sequence. We've got all the other notification data because the saga has been started, right? It got started by the notification, therefore we can complete. And that's all that needs to do then. So we can write the logic in there for understanding, do I have enough information? And then what we do is I publish on complete, what would this be? This would be whatever, notification detail complete, and that event would be subscribed to, and that would say, I've got everything I need, let's send the notification, right? So that would be the reacting event, and then this saga would complete, right? So, as soon as we can mark it as complete in here, yeah. The reason that's that because underneath I need to create reset that variable because there's only a get at the base class because that's all it needs to do. There's a way of doing that. So, but again, I'm doing two things here that I don't like, that don't feel natural, and that's why I'm stuck and I'm pausing more than I want to. That feels like a command. It's kind of correct. In that it's like, hey, by the way, this happened. This information's done. So you could potentially have multiple subscribers to this saga being complete. It defies nature. So, but it does kind of feel unnatural to that extent where it's there's no reason that I know of right this second that I would want to react to this saga behavior other than I could foreseeably publish a domain event that a user was notified to update. I could publish something to say a user was provided the update as a record of them doing that. So, and that would allow me to contain that logic separately. When we get to this way of doing things, it seems overly complicated because there's a lot of moving parts. But once I get this lined up properly and moving, then I have the ability to change the system without changing other parts of the system, right? Their behavior can be completely unaffected by future code. I can make the system, I can extend the system without, modifying the system, which is a good thing. So again, if I wanted to publish this information as an event to the larger domain to say, by the way, a notification happened, I could send integration event to Kafka essentially to say a notification was produced, etc. I can use that sort of information there. I could directly send the notification within here because I do have dependency injection here, right? I can do iSender. So I can, instead of doing this I publish on complete immediately, this could be notification completed, right? And react that way. So this comes down to how do I do the system design, right? So when I handle a notification now, basically either one of these is going to need to do, should I send the notification? I could do it that way. That might be a little bit more friendly and a little bit more logical because the behavior is then in here to do it. The challenge with that is that the method of sending is now all within the responsibility of this. So actually, no, I can send a command to do the thing. Yeah. Mars, good morning. But like I said, everything up until now in Liquid Sky as a whole has been a lot of CRUD stuff. It's been a lot of, it's working. I think it's doing well for what it's doing so far. But now I'm at the point of actually adding some complexity into the system, actually adding some real behavior that is beyond, oh, I created a record. I didn't create, I deleted a record, so I have to design this well. But I can't use these sagas until I get there. From the notifications perspective, like I was just saying, when I receive the command, when I consume the command here, what do I do? Right? Because I'm not going to publish that event through mediator there. When I consume this command, I'm going to do something else. So in this case, like send registration invite, right? Again, I don't like this. This is messy, but this is the first paths. So when you sign up to the system, it will actually generate an email. Whether you get the email is not, it's kind of another question. So when I handle that event occurring, this command, this consume this command for notification, what do I do? And again, the saga is necessary because I might not have this information at the point I receive that notification to send them. And also this notification received thing here, this will kick off even if I say I want to be notified weekly. So I can foreseeably, right, do that conceivably, where I receive those events as well, right? So what I'm trying to avoid is publishing different events from that command based upon what type of saga it is, which, maybe that's the right way. Maybe, maybe that's the thing, but it's publishing an event, which I'm essentially using as a command. I'm not starting the saga that way. Maybe that's the missing piece. Maybe I need to do that. Maybe I need to actually expose more of an API for just the saga can still be generated. It doesn't have to be started by an event. It can be started by an event, but it doesn't have to be started by an event. And then it just handles those things. Maybe that's the right way of thinking about that. Maybe that's the code change I make, where I can generate, the right saga at the right time. So the logic in the notification is which saga do I start? And then we just need to kind of wrap an API around writing a more intelligible saga. So I don't want to do that. Although Saga Factory, yeah, because Saga Factory and Saga Persistence are disconnected. I want to be able to say generate and give me a new Saga and save it at the same time, right? And I don't want to inject the persistence. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'm rambling because obviously there's a lot of things going on in my head. I am tired. I do want to solve this. I think the right thing to do is go back to the sagas, make the relevant changes so that I can generate an actual saga without reacting to an event, because then I don't need this one. I just need this one, right? Actually, I don't even need that. I just need that, so that if I have the data, yeah. Anyway, okay. It is, unfortunately, that time where I must turn into a pumpkin. I do love a good waffle. My favorite is pecan. Pecan. No worries, Napalm. Thank you very much. Who we raid? Who we raid? Maybe he's now devolved into writing songs. If you haven't checked out Maybe before, if you're one of the few people in here that hasn't seen Maybe, I highly recommend going and checking him out. He's been building his AI stuff, and it's pretty fascinating, to be honest, what he's managed to do. He's building his Barely brand out a bit, but it looks like he's devolved into writing songs with Suno now. So, yeah, results may vary. It might be building MCP tool after MCP tool for many things. Nice. My stomach is doing hula hoops around my area this morning. Oh no, that doesn't sound good. You okay? Trying to figure out. It'd be nice to raid. Ah, they're just your meds. Gotcha. The main one I benefited from is having a searchable memory store. Much better recall than my actual brain. Yeah. I do have plans for Liquid Sky with AI tooling, introducing MCP servers and stuff in there. Unfortunately, I am only one person. It is a project that is going to take its own set of significant effort to introduce those tools to be able to do product planning and management in a more natural flow. Basically thinking about MCP servers as far as, hey, create me a planning item, create me a task, etc. Those sorts of things. Those are going to be the thing. I don't want to raid over to Maybe because Maybe's about to end, I'm pretty certain, but let's go see full bots. We don't raid full bots as much anymore. Oh, stream will begin shortly. Come on, people, make it easier for me. Okay, we're gonna raid someone. Let's raid over to at least Maybe streaming. He's active right now. Full bots will start in a second. Maybe we'll probably take you on to someone else. But let's go right over to Maybe. If you have an API, you can just turn actions into MCP server tools. Yeah, that's my intent. Is Frank's not? Is Frank streaming? Please tell me Frank's streaming. Well, I don't love Maybe, but no, he's not. Boo. If you're about to start your stream up, I will wait a few minutes and we'll come over to you. Ah. Okay, then we can wait in a minute or two. See how you go. Because we will come over there. Because it will be, we'll continue the .NET love. Yeah. So on the MCP topic, yeah, I'm contemplating what it might look like to introduce MCP into the system as a whole, because obviously there's these individual pieces. I don't necessarily want to expose these as explicit MCP tools, but I think it's possible to do it in such a way that I can actually provide essentially an API for, so provide like just like I have Vue, give it a context, and then give it the tools to go off and create the things into the individual APIs behind the scenes. I think that's feasible. But more learning, right, and more doing. But then the hope would be you go into a planning item and say, hey, I want to create a planning item. I want to do this, 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 and this. It should do this. I want to. These are the kind of my requirements. Can you help me build out the individual requirements? And it will split that up, propose it, and then you can say, go ahead and generate it, and it will do. It will create the planning item. It will create the requirements. It will, even assign the projects, etc. to it. But it would be creating the MCP stuff to, provide what is projects, what are, what are users, and what are things like that. So, not impossible, but a significant amount of work. I think that is a post MVP, as far as, because that sort of effort would see me go down a complete rabbit hole and delay my development for months while I figured those pieces out. But I think it's feasible and definitely possible in this architecture to implement without actually breaking any of the architecture, which is kind of the goal, right? So, yeah. Cannot believe I screwed up YouTube today. Again, the intent was on YouTube to get the regular live stream and also to then do the shorts style, right? So I introduced a tool called Atrium, which sets up a whole set of scenes, and I can kind of piece all the parts. I can actually it creates a new set of scenes, but I can also link my actual scenes. So when I go to BRB, the vertical one will go to BRB. When I go to starting, the vertical one will go to starting. I have no ending, which is appropriate. But yeah, it looks like it streamed the wrong one, even though I selected the regular stream key. He's up. Absolutely perfect. Fine. That's exactly why we were just having a bit of a waffle for a few minutes. Thank you very much for hanging around while we do this. Appreciate it. I will be back on Monday. Regular stream times do resume right now. I'll be back for the next week. Then I am out the following week. So starting Tuesday of the following week. So I'll have one stream in the following week. If you are interested in learning more about this stuff, if you want to ask more questions, if you have more opinions and thoughts on this stuff, you are more than welcome to join the Discord. You are more than welcome to raise things. We do hang out in voice chat from time to time, of which anyone's welcome to join. If we join into the office channel, it's generally kind of work talk. If we join into the lounge channel, it's anything can be chatted about. We could be talking about the weather. We could be talking about the food we're eating. Anything in there. So, but anyone's more than welcome. But anyway, let's go raid Frank. Frank is a .NET developer and has recently got himself a new role. But thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you again next week, I hope. So take care all. But I'm going to put an end screen up because it's going to be weird. I've got to get my Stream Deck sorted out. So here we go. Take care all. Have a good one. Bye.